When Jim Carrey was announced as the featured guest on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, fans expected a night filled with wild impressions, unexpected antics, and philosophical musings. Carrey has always been known to bring a mix of comedy and chaos wherever he appears, and audiences tune in expecting exactly that. However, from the moment he walked on stage, there was an unmistakable tension in the air. He smiled and waved, but his energy seemed a little more grounded than usual, a bit less zany. Colbert welcomed him with his trademark grin, but what began as a routine interview quickly veered into uncharted, and eventually hostile, territory. Colbert kicked things off by referencing Carrey's legacy in comedy and Hollywood. From Ace Ventura to The Truman Show, you've made people laugh and cry for decades, he said. Carrey nodded appreciatively, replying, "Yeah, and I've also spent the last 10 years trying to make people think." That line set the tone for what was about to unfold. Colbert chuckled, but it seemed he hadn't planned to go too deep. He tried to pivot toward a lighter subject, asking about Carrey's famous facial expressions and viral red carpet moments. But Jim wasn't biting. "I'm not a circus act anymore," he said bluntly. The room went quiet. Colbert, clearly taken aback, tried to steer the conversation back to familiar ground. "Well, I'm still amazed by your physical comedy. That energy, that rubber fascia, it's iconic." Jim stared for a moment and replied, "And yet here I am, a 60-something-year-old man being asked to pull faces like it's still 1994. The laughter in the audience was awkward, as people weren't sure whether to clap, chuckle, or stay silent. Colbert tried to rescue the moment by joking, "Come on, just one classic smoke in." For old time's sake, Jim leaned back, his smile fading. "Do you ever ask serious questions, Stephen?" The tension continued to build as Jim pivoted the conversation toward his views on Hollywood, consumerism, and what he called the manufactured illusion of celebrity. Colbert joked, "So, no sequel to Dumb and Dumber coming soon?" Jim didn't laugh. "That kind of humor belongs to another life. I've evolved. Maybe your show should, too." At this point, the crowd began reacting audibly. Some booed, others applauded. It was becoming less of an interview and more of a philosophical showdown. Stephen, still attempting to keep things light, smiled through it, albeit his patience was clearly thinning. Then came the moment that tipped things over. Colbert asked, "So is this new version of Jim Carrey better or just more grumpy?" Jim paused, then replied coldly, "No. He's just tired of people pretending to listen when they're really just waiting for a punchline." The jab stung. Colbert visibly stiffened. "Well, we do comedy here. That's the gig." Jim nodded slowly. "Exactly. That's the gig. Not the truth, not dialogue, just packaged jokes and safe sarcasm. You're not interviewing people, Stephen, you're managing content." The crowd gasped. A few applauded nervously. The air grew thick with tension. Stephen, now clearly annoyed, replied, "I think my audience appreciates a little levity. We're not here to host TED Talks." Jim smiled thinly. "Then maybe don't invite guests who see past the curtain." That line landed hard. Colbert tried to laugh it off, saying, "Jim, are you okay? This isn't the Jim I remember." And Jim replied, "Maybe you're just not the Stephen who used to listen." Silence followed. The studio felt more like a courtroom than a comedy show. Colbert shuffled his cards, clearly trying to find a way out, but Jim wasn't done yet. Jim shifted gears and began talking about the entertainment industry's tendency to exploit trauma for views. "It's like this show thrives on soft jabs and shiny distractions. Real issues, those get 10 seconds between ads for insurance companies." Colbert sarcastically asked, "So what should we do? Meditate, live on air?" Jim leaned in. "No. Just be real. Ask meaningful questions. Treat your guests like thinkers, not sound bites." The audience applauded again, louder this time. The tide was turning. Jim wasn't throwing a tantrum while he was challenging the system, and viewers started seeing it in real time. Trying to regain control, Colbert asked about Jim's art. "You've been painting a lot. That must be therapeutic." Jim nodded, but with little warmth. "It's not therapy, it's resistance against these broken bar, against the noise." Colbert chuckled nervously. "You mean my show is noise?" Jim shrugged. "If the shoe fits." The crowd gasped again. Stephen sighed, half smiling. "Well, I think we've had enough insight for one night." That was the breaking point. Jim stood up. "Yeah, I think we have." Colbert looked stunned. "Are you seriously walking off?" Jim replied, "No, I'm waking up." And just like that, he walked off stage. The camera stayed on Stephen, who sat in stunned silence for a few moments before cutting to commercial. The audience was left buzzing with confusion and amazement. Some thought it was a stage stunt. Others were convinced it was raw, real, and completely unexpected. Social media exploded within minutes. Clips of the clash flooded X, TikTok, and YouTube. The headline "Jim Carrey storms off Colbert set" spread like wildfire. Comment sections divided fast, as some defending Colbert for trying to maintain levity, others praising Carrey for refusing to play the Hollywood game anymore. Backstage sources later confirmed that Carrey hadn't planned to walk off, but grew frustrated by the tone of the interview. He wanted to talk about meaning, not memes, one crew member said. Colbert didn't comment directly, but the show's official account posted a clip titled "When Interviews Go Off the Rails" that only fueled criticism, as many called it tone-deaf and dismissive. Jim, meanwhile, posted a short message online: "Sometimes leaving is louder than staying. Choose silence over performance." His words went viral, and memes began to fade into deeper conversations. Within 24 hours, talk shows across the country debated the confrontation. Was Jim right to call out late-night media for being shallow, or was he just being difficult? Celebrities chimed in. Some, like Russell Brand and Ricky Gervais, sided with Carrey, applauding his refusal to be reduced to a caricature. Others felt he was out of line. But even critics couldn't deny one thing: he sparked a conversation about what late night has become, and whether it still serves real dialogue or just replays the same safe loop night after night. Jim's next moves were closely watched. He declined follow-up interviews, choosing instead to stay quiet and let the moment speak for itself. A week later, he released a painting titled "The Spotlight Burns," featuring a melting microphone and a smiling mask half submerged in darkness. Fans and art critics alike praised it as a powerful statement. Carrey never directly referenced the Colbert incident again. He didn't need to. The artwork, the walk-off, the silence, it all formed a complete picture, one that said more about him, and about the system, than any scripted monologue could. In the end, Jim Carrey's walkout wasn't a meltdown, it was a stand, a quiet, unapologetic refusal to keep playing a version of himself that no longer exists. For years, he made us laugh with rubber faces and absurd voices. Now, he asks us to listen with open minds. Whether you agree with how he handled it or not, it's clear Jim Carrey isn't interested in being anyone's court jester anymore. He's chasing truth, not applause. And sometimes, the bravest thing a person can throw broken bar is walk away from the stage entirely.